So you guys are all here today. We're going to talk about building habits to change our life. I would love to hear from you before we get started. Why are you here? What do you want to get about? You want to come up here? Come on up. Grab
No, I have something I have to go.
Okay.
Yes, I totally want to go there.
Okay, great.
Whatever. How dare I?
And if you're online, feel free to jump in too. But why are you here, and what are you hoping to take away from today?
I mostly want to build new habits. I don't have any bad habits. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
None of us
Mostly build new.
Okay. Yep.
I think and want to dive into your brain right now.
Oh God.
I feel like that's
Be careful what you wish
out.
for. Okay. Yeah.
I need more control over my life,
Mm.
and I function best on a schedule. And right now, I'm doing this.
Okay.
I need to bring this back in somehow.
Okay.
So I'm looking at. I'm kind of looking multi-level, like what can I do to gain more control to my life right now?
Yep. Cool. Anybody else?
As a new agent in a shifting markets, I think having consistent habits is what's going to keep me around rather than getting booted out right away.
Yeah, right on. Okay. You guys know that, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find where I'm comfortable here. Now I feel too low. You know that all of the areas of our life are interconnected, right? Yeah. Your whole people. So one habit impacts every other thing. Does your sleep and how much you get impact every other habit you have? Yeah. Right, so that's one example. So, I mean, you can look at any habit, good or bad, good ones that you want to develop, bad ones you want to break. And we know that their impacts are far reaching. So my hope today is to help you guys have an understanding of the science behind the power of a habit. Our brains are wired in a way where we create habits. What do you do automatically when you walk into a pitch black room?
Flip the light on.
You're looking for the switch. Why? Out of habit. You're not thinking, how do I cause light to show up in this room? How do I solve this problem? It's a habit to look at the switch to flip, right? There's so many things in our life. Have you ever driven somewhere and been like, how did I get here? I don't even remember the drive.
Yes.
That's actually hypnotic state, by the way. Your brain is in it. It's a literal hypnotic state that your brain waves are moving so slow, but it's all out of habit. Way we drive. So I'm gonna break down the science behind it a little bit so that we can habit hack and figure out what's the science behind how habits are created, and then how can you use that science to your advantage to create new habits. Okay. So before we jump in, do you guys all have something to write with? Perfect, lovely. If you're online, hopefully you have something to write with. I want you to take just a minute and think about what habit, if you could instantly have a new habit instilled, what would that be and how would it change your life? And then write that down. If you had one habit instantly, just magically instilled, what would it be? How would it change your life? They could be small, by the way, too. Or they could be really big. You have one, Chris?
Maybe.
Okay, well, wait. Hold on to it. Okay. Hi. All right, who's willing to share your name and what it is?
I'm willing.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
What's your name?
Jennifer
Got it.
Hershey, and mine is daily exercise.
How would it change your life? You exercise.
It would change it in every way. Yeah, for sure. My chronic pain, my mood, my stress, my everything. Yep.
Something to consider, you guys, when you change any habit, not only how does it impact you, what's the ripple effect of that? How does that impact the people in your world? When all of that changes in who you are, how do you show up in every other area of your life? Because sometimes connecting meaning to that impact is more meaningful depending on how your brain is wired. When you understand, man, if I do this, I'm going to show up differently at my job. When I show differently at my job, how does that impact everyone on the team? I know I feel that. When I don't get sleep and I show up here without sleep and without energy and God, I forgot what I was saying, and it's different than when I show up sharp. It impacts a lot of people differently. Okay, who else? Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, both of you, go ahead.
Not snoozing my alarm. I'm Anne. Yeah, just not even utilizing that in the morning. I think it would set the day up differently. Like everything else would follow better.
That's sort of the trickle down, the ripple effect. Yeah, cool, thanks. Chris?
My name's Chris, and if I can get in the habit of organizing tomorrow, the night before, change literally everything.
How would you feel when all that changes?
I would be less concerned when I'm dropping a ball. Because right now I'm constantly like,
So you're having anxiety right now and or whatever, you're spinning, you're concerned, so you're spinning. Yeah, okay, and this spinning has lots of impacts. Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Yeah,
Slow down.
that's a good one. How will that change your life for the people around you when you slow down?
I'd have more time to think and process before I react, which would allow me to be more present for those around me once this is clear.
Cool. What's your name?
Ali.
Anybody online? All right, I'm gonna roll. I'm reluctantly handing these out to you because if you're like most people, you're gonna read ahead. And I don't know why that bothers me sometimes. I want you to be present with me. So try not to get ahead on this. Bethany, if you want to drop that in the chat, that'd be amazing. Kind of look at this stuff as we go through it. So I'm gonna just go through some facts and read these to you about the science behind what's working in your brain. So first of all, we know that creating tiny habits can lead to big results. So some of this is coming, there's Power of Habit, there's Atomic Habits, there's a million other books. What I went through a few of them, and the essence is the same behind all of them, which is great. And there's science behind all of this. But so some of this, so that you guys know, is coming from primarily those two major books, Atomic Habits and The Power of Habits. So if you want to read more about it, you can dive into those. But they start with an example of a plane that's on track to go to New York City. And they said, well, we're going to change the degree of the plane by 3.5 degrees, which is nothing major, right? It's 3 feet. And if you take that in a split second time, you don't really change the trajectory of the plane. But of course, over time, if you change just that minor change, nobody on the plane would know. They wouldn't feel this huge adjustment. You wouldn't see the adjustment right away with where the plane is going, but eventually it'd end up in Washington, D.C. and not in New York City. So that small change over the course of time and over consistency ends up with a different result, right? So what happens if you work out one time? Does it change anything? No. What happens if you eat one large family pizza all by yourself? You might feel sick.
shame, not shame.
You feel a lot of shame for sure. Yeah, but then ultimately, is it really going to change the body composition that you have or the percentage of fat in your body? No, it's going to mess you up for a day and then you're probably going to be all right. What happens if you work out every day for 30 days? What happens if you work out 90% of the days for a year? What happens, Cara?
Lose a shit ton of weight.
How much weight do you lose?
I was down like 70 pounds.
70 pounds.
Wow.
She built a habit, right? It didn't change overnight.
Or you. Thank you.
Yep. What happens if you eat a pizza every day for 30 days?
Not a lot of weight.
Right. So that's an easy way to look at it, but it's small habits over time that create big results. You can't expect the small habit done once to create a huge result. Conversely, you know, you're looking at business right now in a receding market. If you establish the right habits and you stick with them consistently enough over a period of time, you will absolutely, okay? Okay, so how are habits not performed, how are they formed? They're formed, in essence, and this is gonna be no surprise. What is something that you do every day with ease right now? It could be something small, a habit. What's a habit that you do every day? Brush your teeth. Why do you do it? The reward is that, do you like the feeling of after you brush your teeth? Do you know that there's science behind this too? The person that developed the first toothpaste that actually left the mouth like minty fresh and clean, it actually had a tingling sensation, caused people to start brushing their teeth because the reward was how it felt. It was a pleasurable feeling, right? So that people started to crave that. So they started to buy the toothpaste and they developed the habit. Habits are formed because there's a reward associated with an action that we do that our brains then desire and crave the outcome of it. Smoking. What do we crave? Nicotine, there's the sun. Or it might be the actual, like, I wouldn't know because I've never smoked, but people crave something. Your brain associates a reward with whatever it is and it craves it, right? So that's part of how habits are built, okay? This is all gonna come back in terms of how we build the habits. So one of the studies that they did was with a monkey, and the monkey really liked, let's see, what was it? Blackberry juice. So they had a lever, they had shapes that they put on a screen. When the monkey saw the shapes, then there was a lever put in front of the monkey. When the monkey pushed the lever, then it was given blackberry juice. They had electrodes on the monkey's brain, and they saw that when the monkey got the blackberry juice, dopamine was released in the brain. Okay, when the monkey got the blackberry juice, dopamine was released in the brain. They kept inserting the cue. The cue was the shapes. The action that the monkey took was to push the lever. The reward that it got was the blackberry juice. Over time, they refired that over and over and over. What eventually happened is the monkey's brain rewired, so as soon as it saw the cue, dopamine was released. That's pretty cool, right? So instead of waiting for the blackberry juice, there's evidence, science behind the fact that your brain's gonna rewire and release dopamine, which causes pleasure at the point of the cue, not just at the point of the reward. That's pretty powerful, right? This is part of the habit hacking. So we're gonna figure out how to associate a cue with a reward so that eventually, over time, when you do the habit long enough, the cue will release the dopamine so that you can actually experience dopamine while you're doing the thing you maybe used to not want to do. Kind of cool, right? Okay. Any ahas so far? What do you guys think? It's neat to me.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd with the science stuff. So if you didn't get this, write this down or it's on your sheet, so it's in front of you. 4 parts to creating a habit. A cue, which is a trigger to act. Your cue is your trigger to act. So in the morning, your cue to brush your teeth is what? My mouth doesn't taste great, or it feels whatever, I don't know. Your cue to flipping the light switch is the dark room, right? There are cues already there. So cue is a trigger to act. You'll notice the craving. So it's the craving is part of creating a habit. Your response to that craving or to the cue is the action. So what is the action that you're going to take? Seems pretty simple. And then obviously having a reward. And we'll dive into those rewards in a second here. So I want you to think right now, as I go through the rest of this information, did you guys get these? Okay, we're gonna actually build out what it is that you wanna work on. So let's pick a habit right now, if you haven't already, that you want to establish in the next 30 days, a real life one. I'm gonna use playing guitar as an example. That's not my real life habit, but use it as an example, okay? So when we set a cue for this, we want it to be something that is impossible to miss. So if I wanted to play guitar, one cue for me might be to put my guitar out on the stand in the middle of my living room. Right now it's in a case, it's hidden behind a chair, it's not out in front. So if I want a cue, that could be one cue, okay? You want to make it visible and cannot miss it. Another cue that I could use is to have an alarm go off. If I decided I'm gonna play guitar 3 times a week, I'm gonna get very specific with my cues. So my alarm is gonna go off at 6 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. When the cue happens, I see my guitar there. I'm gonna pick up my guitar and I'm gonna play it for an hour. That's the response. That's the action, okay? So the cue then triggers a response. So then you decide what is the activity that I'm gonna do. Ollie, if it's I want to slow down, is it meditating? Is the cue that my alarm goes off every morning and the first thing I'm going to do is meditate. So when my alarm goes off, my response is to meditate. Hit the snooze button. We're not going to do, right? Okay. So one thing I'm going to say about this cue, so there's another example in the book that talked about how we can alter our environment to support the cues. Our will, we only have so much willpower. I'm a big fan of recognizing that discipline precedes motivation, right? So it means I'm going to choose to do something that I might want to do even when I don't feel motivated, because I know that eventually I'll start feeling the results of it. I'm going to choose to work out even though I don't want to. And eventually, or maybe even the first time I work out, I leave and I feel proud. Or I leave and I feel dopamine, or I leave and I feel awake for the first time. And then I start to feel motivated, and that begets the positive momentum. Discipline comes before motivation most of the time. However, we as humans only have so much willpower. There's proof in that too. So by having cues and altering your environment that supports the habit, you're gonna be able to sort of hack that willpower piece and set yourself up for more success. So in the book, they talk about a woman who is in a hospital and she was tasked with getting people to drink more water. So one of the cues was having water bottles out in baskets all throughout the hospital, and especially in the cafeteria. They also removed the soda from where it was and put water in that and made the soda less, it was out of sight, out of mind. And I can't remember the exact stat, and I didn't write it down, but the level of water that people drank went way up in 30 days. And their water sales went way up as well, because she had changed cues visually and put them in the environment. So consider also, maybe it's not just, do I want the alarm to go off, but I'm using meditation as an example. Maybe you have a cue and it's a Post-it note on the mirror that reminds yourself what slowing down will do for the people in your world. What are the additional cues that you can put in your environment that remind you why you're doing what you're doing? Maybe it's a quote about what's happening in the market. When I do this thing consistently over 30 days, I'm going to succeed in the market while other people recede. Something. So consider supplemental cues that are going to help you institute whatever habit is that you want to do. Make sense? Okay. All right, so we talked about the reward piece of it. I already actually went into a lot of this. I think I said this, but to just dot the I on this, the reward piece of it, because of how your brain is wired, the mere anticipation of doing that thing is going to eventually release dopamine for you. So I talked with Cara, can I use you as an example? Okay, so we were just coaching earlier this morning. I said, what's the most important thing we can focus on today? And she said, lead follow-up. And then we talked about a little bit of this stuff. And I said, well, what's something that you really enjoy? Why, or where do you enjoy working? And she said, I really actually love coffee shops. I love like the hustle and bustle of a coffee shop. I said, can you lead gen in a coffee shop? Can you put your earbuds in and do it? And she said, yes, I can. And I said, do you like drinking coffee? Love it. She loves drinking coffee. So this is part of the habit hack. When you associate something you love doing with a thing that you don't love doing, it's going to make it easier to do the thing you don't want to do. So that is part of the reward for her. Not only is the reward going to be the results of lead gen, it's going to be while I'm doing my lead gen, I get to do it in this awesome coffee shop, and I get to drink my favorite latte or whatever it is. So that reward, let's look at that reward piece, not just what's the intrinsic reward of the habit itself, but what is a reward you can tie to the behavior you're doing. The book used another example too of a guy that loved watching Netflix and he wanted to work out. So he was a super techie nerd, and so he wired his computer to his bike so that Netflix would turn on, but only when he was pedaling at a certain rate. That was the only time he could watch Netflix. So he started associating riding bike with doing the thing that he loved to do, which was watch Netflix. It worked. Kind of cool, huh? So you look at that, you can look at the reward. Another habit hack is to reduce or create friction. So this is how we got on this habit. So Cara, what is the friction that you've experienced with lead gen? What things get in the way, or what are the distractions?
Oh, my negative self-talk, my kid, my dogs, my husband, everything. Clients, emails, text messages.
Yeah.
And then I just do busy work to avoid it.
Right. So that's how we got into the coffee shop. How can I remove the friction of the dog and the kid and the husband and the whatever the things are that get in the way? For me, one of the points of friction is I'm not prepared well for that activity. So if I just show up and I sit down, I'm like, who am I calling? What am I going to say when I call them? That's a point, that's something that can get stuck and get in the way of me doing that thing. So before you start the habit, we want to think about removing all of the points of friction and setting yourself up for success as much as possible. The converse of that is true as well. So if you want to watch less TV, you might unplug the TV and remove the batteries from the remote. Have you ever gone like, shit, my remote's dead? Now I can't watch the TV. My daughter was like, you could walk up to it and turn it on, you know? But it's just enough friction where it might actually reduce the level of activity that you do that. Hey, I want to stop eating junk food. I decided I'm not going to remove junk food from my house, but I'm going to put it in a cupboard where I have to get on a ladder to get to it. See, you're creating friction in something that you want to do less of, and you're removing friction with something that you want to do more of. So consider, whatever your habit is, how can I create or reduce friction? Questions or thoughts on that? Yeah.
So I like to be in the office. I get more done in the office because, like you, at home, shiny is my favorite color, and I get distracted by shiny things.
Oh, yeah.
So I started renting a spot here, you know,
Yeah.
and now I'm actually paying to be here. So now I really feel the need to be here,
Yep.
and I also like to be here.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Anybody else have examples? What's a habit do you have a habit down on yours?
Yeah, consistent calling.
Okay. Can you think of where you might have friction with that?
It's a lot of limiting beliefs. I'm a newer agent. I don't know what I'm going to be able to say, that type of thing. So it's a little bit of a preparation, I feel like, to reduce friction with scripts in front of me and being.
Perfect. Can I add to that?
Yeah.
From a coaching standpoint, I think there may be two habit opportunities here, and one of them is just reading scripts. Like being a new agent, if you were to just show up and sit down with something you enjoy, let's say do you like coffee?
Yeah.
Do you love coffee?
Yeah.
Do you like the shitty coffee we have here? Get a good cup of coffee, right? And then sit down and just read the scripts out loud to yourself. Put on your favorite music in the background too. 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week, read the scripts. And then you can stack a habit with that too and do the calling right after that. Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Okay. All right, here's a couple of other hacks. The 2-minute rule. So if you take lead generation as an example, take some big goal that you have. Who else has a goal? Throw a goal, a habit that you want to build out. Somebody give me one.
I was feedback off him, just daily kind of lead gen.
Yep.
I'm great doing it 4 days a week,
Sure.
not necessarily 5 days a week,
Okay, cool.
6 days.
Okay. What is your lead gen? Is it calling? What is door knocking, or what is the activity that you're doing?
Yes. So calling, social media, posting, open houses are my 3 main sources.
Okay, great. Pick one of them. Which one do you want to talk about right now that you're most stuck on?
I would say that calling.
Okay. So what period of time do you block on your calendar for calling?
Really don't.
Okay. So this could be part of the habit,
Yeah.
like you have a queue and you know that when that queue happens, the activity is to call for X period of time. Now, instead of having the activity be let's call for an hour or 2 hours or 3 or whatever it is. Let's break it all the way down to 2 minutes. What is the first and smallest thing you can do to get you started on that period of time? What would you say that is? A 2-minute habit that's associated with the bigger one.
Well, I think it would just be getting my computer set up and my phone set up.
Okay.
Do it.
Great. Yeah, opening the computer, getting it set up. One thing is like, what if the goal was instead of making an hour of calls, it's make the first call. So the queue happens, my alarm goes off, you've already reduced friction, you have a list, so you know the very first number you're gonna dial when you show up that day. The queue happens, I make the first call, right? If working out is the thing, the queue is my clothes are set out. In the winter, I would put my clothes on the radiator, by the way, pro tip if you have an old house. Like, I don't wanna go out in the cold, but then my shoes and my clothes were like warm. It's awesome. The reward piece of it, right? That was the cue. The 2-minute habit is put the clothes and shoes on. It's not the cue and I'm at the gym, right? So this is sort of an optional thing you can add to that. If you're having a hard time starting and you're looking at the mountain in front of you, don't look at the mountain, look at the first step. Okay, so break it down to a 2-minute. What's something that I can do that's small enough that can happen in 2 minutes? So playing guitar is the example. It's not, I'm gonna play guitar for an hour. It's I'm gonna take the guitar out of the case and I'm gonna put my hands on the strings. Guess what's probably gonna happen after I get through that first step? Maybe it's not meditating, it's I'm gonna open the app. I'm gonna sit down in a chair and I'm gonna open the app. So that helps. Just getting started is often the hardest thing. Once you get started, then you get going, okay? Another thing, so it's no surprise to you. Do you guys think that our brains are wired for instant gratification or delayed gratification?
Instant.
Yeah. So why that makes sense then, why it's hard to do something where we don't see the results of right away. Okay. So a habit hack in creating a habit is to have a visual something in front of you or some sort of system that gives you instant gratification. So you'll see in your little packet that there's a calendar here. This seems kind of silly. I actually did this without realizing that I did this. I'll share my example in a minute, but let's say you want to take the next 30 days to establish this habit. Each day that you do the activity, you mark it on the calendar. Maybe it's a green star for the days you do, and it's a red X for the days that you don't. Maybe it's a really fun sticker that you love. Maybe it's a whatever, but you find a visual system where you get some kind of instant gratification. A part of that's going to be the reward that you've already built into it, but tracking it, and I should say tracking it, is going to also help you stay on track and see that instant progress right there. Got it? Okay, habit hack. You might have some other kind of system, by the way, you want to create. Tracking is critical though to creating the habit. That's a brain thing too. And then habit stacking, we've kind of talked about this already. If it's a habit that you want to do daily instead of, let's say weekly, but let's just assume it's a daily habit, consider what you're already doing daily that happens with ease. And then add it to that. So I take a shower every day. I have coffee every morning. I take my dog for a walk every night. So I want to listen to more podcasts. So I already take my dog for a walk every day for 30 minutes. I'm going to do my podcast while I do my dog walk. So build the habit on to something that you're already doing, and it helps create that momentum. So if scripting is the first thing you start with, you already drink coffee every day, you already come to the office every day, you can start with coffee and scripting, and maybe a month, and I would say lead gen, but let's just say you were like, I'm just gonna bite off scripting this month. And next month you stack lead gen to the scripting. And maybe after that you stack buyer presentation practice on top of that. Oftentimes we bite off more than we really can chew. And so start with what you can start with and then build on that. Cool?
Repetition, Jen, is there like a set number on average that you have to perform in before it starts becoming a habit?
I don't know the minutes, but 21 days is what I've heard over and over with all kinds of habit stuff. Happiness habit, coaching habit, 21 days. Yep. Yeah. So whether it's 21 days or this month or 30 days or whatever it is, you need to stick with it long enough to actually rewire the brain too. And my guess is if you do it for 21 days, you're gonna see some results, right?
I thought of this morning as I was coming in, knowing I was gonna come to this today,
Uh-huh.
that I still, every single day, think that I'm forgetting something because I don't have a mask on.
Huh.
And like, we haven't worn it really now in months, but we did for so long that like, I still think I'm missing something.
Yeah, that became a habit.
Yeah.
For sure, yep, that is interesting. Okay, the last thing on here is the habit contract, and you can see that on the next page for you. It might seem contrived, it might seem silly, and yet there is proof in the pudding. So a part of this is accountability, a piece of this is clarity, right? So it's stating, you'll see in the contract, you want to impose negative consequences if you don't do what you say you're going to do, and or you can put rewards on there. By the way, you should have rewards built into the daily habit, but let's say the reward is that I want to stick to a certain nutrition plan for the next 30 days, and at the end of it I get a family size pizza. Just kidding. Whatever it is that you have a reward built in there. The way that this contract is written is that you share it with somebody. It might be a colleague, it might be your boss, it might be your partner at home, it might be a best friend. How many of you have ever said you're going to go to the gym and you know you're going to meet somebody there? And they set their alarm at 5 a.m. and they didn't go out the night before because they knew they were going to meet you at the gym. Were you more likely to show up there? Because you knew somebody was going to show up there too and be like, bro, where were you? You said you were going to be here. That's accountability. This is obviously a form of accountability where you're going to somebody and you're saying, I'm building this habit because in this contract it's, I want to build this habit and this is why it's important to me. Don't forget that. We started this hour with, if you could instantly have one positive habit implemented, how would it change your life? I want you to tell that person how that habit is going to change your life and why it's important to you. And then you're going to have milestones for your habit. So if my habit, if I had a goal to lose weight or whatever it is, at the end of 30 days, my milestone is going to be a weigh-in once a week, as an example. Okay. I actually did do a body composition thing recently. I had to go in every 3 to 4 days and get 16 points of body fat measured on my body. Talk about accountability. Like, he's gonna know if I ate bread last night based on my spleen measurement or whatever it was, right? That was a piece of the success of it though. So you have milestone check-ins and I want you to decide what those are. And then your end of it, pick a time frame, 21, 30 days, I'd say between there. At the end of that, what is the goal? The goal, by the way, may not be to, you can't control, let me say this. If I'm using weight loss as an example, I cannot control losing 15 pounds. I can't wake up tomorrow and decide to lose 15 pounds. What can I decide to do? Eat clean, do my exercise, drink my water, get my sleep. So be mindful about what goal you're setting, because you might be setting yourself up for failure unknowingly if it's an outcome that you can't control. If my goal was to get healthier, I might say to the person that I'm having that this is important to me, this is why it's important to me. My goal is to work out for 21 days straight. Or my goal is to work out 30 days straight with 1 day of rest. And that's what they're holding you accountable to, right? So just be mindful about what you're setting for that end day outcome so that you know you can also set yourself up for success. And then their job and what they're signing off to is to commit to check in with you. So they might need to set an alarm on their phone and say, hey, you said this was important to you. I know that this is why it's important to you. I'm checking in as a friend, as a colleague, as a boss, as a whatever. How you doing on that goal? Cool? Okay. Let's work through this worksheet. I want you to leave with an action plan. Because you can learn this, and if we don't do it, it won't be worth anything. Jennifer, you got one?
Yeah, actually, I kind of already started this.
Okay.
And I actually have a calendar on my, I started this June 1st.
Okay.
And then went to Jason Sparr's 6 Perspectives, which tied into that, and then which ties into this. So it's all connected.
Yep.
And I have a calendar on my refrigerator.
Yeah.
I also was thinking of putting a note up on my bathroom mirror. So funny that you should say that. I'm going to do that when I get home.
Cool.
So yeah.
Are there any pieces in, after going through this, that you didn't have it in place that you might
Yes,
adjust right now?
What am I thinking of? Like that, putting 2 actions together, something I like to do with that, yeah. So yeah, I have that.
I didn't realize, I'll use myself as an example with working out. This just kind of happened. I got I think they're really expensive. What do they call them? Earphones?
Yeah.
Headphones where like, I cannot hear anything else that is happening. And when I'm at the gym, I have like moody music on. It's not like death metal. It's like slow, like vibey music, which I love. And I associate that now with working out, and that's my reward. To me, it's like I get my me time. There's no one else here, and I've got my music on. So I've associated working out with me time that feels amazing instead of like, but stacking it like that. Yeah, cool.
Stacking, yeah.
Is anybody else like, you're looking at what you're doing? How can we help each other right now with areas you're like, I don't know how to break this down? How can we help each other right now with some of the specifics? Stuck anywhere?
I have my visual.
What is it?
I am gonna do an alarm with a picture of Preston and a mantra to count down, like thing that I have to tell myself when I start to like avoid my inner.
Yeah. Have any of you heard the 5-second rule? Yeah?
Stuff.
Do you use it?
I was actually watching her video,
Mel Robbins.
yeah, Mel Robbins, like a week ago. And I heard her on a podcast like a year ago. The only time I really consistently do it is if I'm asking questions, if I'm lead generating.
Yep.
Because I used to just ramble on.
Yep.
It's like, just ask the question and shut up.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's one way.
Yep.
I can do it more
Yep.
in my life.
Cool.
That's really good.
So the 5-second rule, and I think we're talking about the same thing. One of them is if there's something that you don't want to do, starve that activity of time. Starve your mind of time. So you just count from 5 down to 1 and you do it. I was lead generating when I was selling, and my director of ops at the time one day said, "It's so funny, Jen. It's like every day before you do this, it's like you're about to jump into a freezing cold pool." Did I say this before? And that's what it felt like. And you guys ever stood at the edge of a freezing cold pool and then stand there longer and longer and longer? And what happens the longer you stand there? You're either not going to do it, or the feeling grows, right? The feeling of this is going to be so cold, and you're at the anticipation of it. It is true that what you focus on expands. What you give time will grow. So if you give your fear time, it's going to get bigger. The fear will get bigger. The hesitation is going to get bigger. The anxiety is going to grow. If you starve your fear of time, then you're going to have a greater success. Don't call it fear. Maybe it's not fear for you. Maybe it's whatever it is. So you just implement the 5-second rule. Let's say the cue, you decide you want to work out. The cue is seeing your clothes. Instead of hitting snooze and laying in bed and thinking about how dreadful the workout's going to be, you're going to use the 5-second rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out of bed, put on the clothes. You just starve it of time. Yeah? Hey, other thoughts? Anybody online too?
Yeah, I actually quit my worst habit a month ago. That's smoking. And
Wow,
at the same,
congratulations.
thank you, yeah. And at the same time, I started a new habit, which was exercising, which I've done every day since. So I replaced a bad one with a good one.
How'd you
And
do it? What worked for you?
well, the smoking, I've been wanting to quit for a long time, so I just mentally kind of prepared myself for it. The exercising, if I don't exercise, then I can't have a happy hour cocktail at the end of the day. So,
There you go, a consequence and reward, right on,
right. Yep.
okay? Anybody else have ahas or questions? You're looking at the sheet and filling this out. Are all of you ready to hit the go button on your new habit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ryan, yes, what's your new habit? Can I ask?
Well, you got me writing down all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
So kind of like what Jared just said, he stopped doing something and had to replace that habit. I've been in the same situation where I haven't been drinking alcohol for 9 weeks.
nice.
So for me, that's a big deal, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I found that I had to replace it with eating more food.
Oh,
I'm like craving constantly sugar and carbs.
yeah.
And there's a lot of science behind that. I've been doing research. So everything that I'm doing is focusing on changing my relationship with food to rewire my brain to think, eat to live, not live to eat, right? And so obviously there's a lot of benefits health-wise in terms of body composition, trying to lose weight. I've been seeing a personal trainer because I need that accountability. Brain function, just dealing with a lot of brain fog and just all of that stuff. So this has been great. You know, first thing is going to be just throw away all the unhealthy food that I have already. That's like literally the first
So
thing.
reducing the friction.
Just
yeah.
reduce the friction, toss it all out. If it doesn't serve my purpose, it needs to go. And then having a very defined shopping list for groceries. We do like meal delivery, so we get a lot of that covered in terms of the health benefits and stuff, but
Yeah.
just surrounding myself with constantly only healthy options.
Cues,
And
environment.
having alarms set to like eat. 'Cause what happens a lot of times is we get busy during the day and I don't eat on like a regimented schedule. And so what happens is then I'll just be starving by the end of the day and I'll
Ow.
eat everything. Right? So
Yeah, I feel ya.
If I had been just eating healthy, at least even snacks prior to that, I can probably eliminate that. So
Great, sure. Love it. Anybody else? Yeah.
So for my reducing friction,
Yeah.
I have a touch of ADHD. And so my thing is going for a habit stacking too, is I've been really good about going to the gym recently. And so it's going to be a direct from gym to Starbucks to do scripting and only have a physical copy of the script with me.
Yeah.
So then there's nothing else to distract me. I'm not going home to get caught up in other things. It's just
Nice work.
baby.
Love it. Good work. Okay. All right. Anybody else want help coaching through any place you're getting stuck on your plan? You guys know who you're gonna ask to hold you accountable? You're gonna use the contract? Yeah. Okay. Do we have a list of who's in this class?